Warm welcome to State of Business on our television. I am Savindri Javardhan. Let's look at the top stories for the day. President stresses that the private sector of the country should take up bold investments without adopting traditional low-risk strategies. Construction work of the Phase 5 of the Jaya Container Terminal of Sri Lanka Ports Authority commences. News in detail. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa stresses that the private sector of the country should take up bold investments that can realize outstanding returns without continually adopting traditional low-risk strategies. Accordingly, President Rajapaksa made these observations today, inaugurating the two-day virtual Sri Lanka Economic Summit 2020 themed Roadmap for Takeoff, Driving a People-Centric Economic Revival.
By imposing minimum lengths of stay and attracting high-spending tourists, it should maximize earnings from tourism so that the economy benefits overall. Especially since the number of tourist arrivals may need to be limited early on, we should first reopen to the highest spending tourists we can attract. This can also reposition Sri Lanka as a destination for higher-end tourists, resulting in higher revenue generated by the industry in the long term. Our rising entrepreneurs as well as established companies must seek out new opportunities, moving beyond their comfort zones to explore new ways to deploy their talent and capital. With the government as an enabler, the private sector must expand its role in the economy. It has often been pointed out that the private sector is the engine of growth. However, for the private sector to truly live up to this reputation, it must make bold investments that can potentially realize outstanding returns instead of continually adopting conservative, low-risk strategies. The government will play its part to unleash the full potential of the private sector so that the interest of our people will be best served.
The government has extended the time period to limit the outflow of foreign exchange from the country by 6 more months from 1st of January 2021. The cabinet approval for this decision was given yesterday when the country heralded its very first virtual cabinet meeting. The first ever virtual cabinet meeting held yesterday under the patronage of the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who joined the cabinet meeting from the President's office. In the meantime, other ministers joined from their respective ministries. Thus, addressing the virtual cabinet press briefing today morning, cabinet spokesman Media Minister Keheliya Rambukwalla told that during the cabinet meeting yesterday, it was agreed to extend the time period for imposing regulations for limitation of capital transactions causing flow of foreign exchange out of the country. Its valid period was scheduled to be ended from 1st of January 2021 and it is extended from another 6 months. Moreover, it has been decided to extend the time of the committee appointed for submission of recommendations formalizing the state bank system for another 3 months, commencing from 18 November 2020, as the role of the committee could not be concluded as expected due to the situation prevailing in the country at present. On the other hand, approval was granted by the Cabinet of Ministers for proposal tabled by the Prime Minister as the Minister of Finance, Mahinda Rajapaksa, to appoint a committee to investigate the irregularities in the Grand Hyatt project. The Grand Hyatt Hotel project, implemented by the Sri Lanka Private Limited, was scheduled to open in the first quarter of 2016, afterwards the completion of construction. Provided that most of the agreements signed by the previous government were terminated by the new board of directors of the Sri Lanka Private Limited and that it has been entered into agreements with new contractors, some companies have initiated legal proceedings and it has been decided that the Sri Lanka Private Limited shall pay nearly a sum of 1.8 billion as compensation. The current cost of the project, which was originally planned to be completed at an estimated cost of 30 billion rupees, is re-estimated to be around 60 billion rupees. Media Minister Keheliya Rambukwala says that the government will not take any loan for any project in the future considering the heavy loans the country has to pay. Addressing the cabinet press briefing today, he explained in detail how the government would fund the projects in the future.
අපි තීන්දුවක් අරගෙන තියෙනවා කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලය සහ රජය අපි මීට පසුව ණය ලබා ගන්නේ නැහැ කිසිම ව්‍යාපෘතියකට ඒ වෙනුවට අපි කියන BOT කියලා එහෙම නැත්නම් built operation and transfer කියන්නේ එය නිර්මාණය කරලා නිෂ්පාදනය නිර්මාණය කරලා එය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලා ඒක නැවත වරක් රජයට බාර දීම එහෙම නැත්නම් BOO කියන බූ කියලා කියන්නේ නිර්මාණය කරලා එය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලා ඒක අයිති වෙන විදිහට ඒගාව ක්‍රමය තමයි Triple P අපි කියන public private partnership ව්‍යවසායකයන් සහ රජය අතරේ එකඟතාවයක් එක්ක කටයුතු කිරීම සහ විදේශ ආයෝජනයන් 2015 අපි ආණ්ඩුව බාර දෙනකොට අපේ දලදේශීය නිෂ්පාදනයෙන් අපේ ණයබර තිබ්බේ ට්‍රිලියන 7.43යි ඒ තත්ත්වය වෙනස් වුණා පහුගිය යහපාලන කාලයේදී තව ට්‍රිලියන 5 මාරකට ප්‍රමාණයක් අරගෙන අපේ තිබ්බ ණයබර 187 යනකම් වැඩි වුණා වර්තමාන අයවැයේදී ඒ 92 වෙනකම් ගිහිල්ලා තිබෙනවා. ඒ නිසා තවදුරටත් අපි ණය ලබා ගත්තොත් ඒ ණය අපේ දලදේශීය නිෂ්පාදනය ඉක්මවා යන එහෙම අවස්ථාවන් තිබ්බක් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම තමයි දේශීය නිෂ්පාදනයන් ශක්තිමත් කරන්නට යම්කිසි භාණ්ඩයක් හෝ අමුද්‍රව්‍යයක් පිටරටින් ගෙනෙනවා නම් ඒ දේශීය භාණ්ඩය නිර්මාණය කිරීමට එහි තියෙන සෙස්බද්ද යොදන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් තරඟකාරීත්වයක් ඇති වෙන තැනකට આવත් උදාහරණයක් ගත්තොත් ලොකු ලුණු ගත්තොත් අපි මේ රටේ නිෂ්පාදනය කරන අස්වැන්න ලැබෙන කාලයට පිටරටින් ගේන්න දෙනවා නම් ඒ හා සමානව බද්දක් ඇතුල් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. මොකද ඒකට අපි දේශීය ගොවියන් ආරක්ෂා කිරීම.
Stay tuned for more news right after this break. Welcome back after the break. Phase 5 of the Jaya Container Terminal of Sri Lanka Ports Authority was commenced this morning as the Cabinet of Ministers have approved the extension of the terminal. Phase 5 of the Jaya Container Terminal, which commenced today, is scheduled to be completed by the month of July in 2022. The construction of the Phase 5 of the Jaya Container Terminal, which is mostly known as JCT of Sri Lanka Ports Authority, commenced this morning and it has been planned to complete it in a period of 18 months. The total value of this project is $32 million and the consultancy for the project is provided by the Contract and Planning Engineering Division of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority. The construction company for the project is China Harbour Engineering Company Limited. The construction of Phase 5 of the JCT will add a number of advantages to operations of Ports Authority and the Port of Colombo. The length of the Phase 5 of the terminal will avoid obstacles at the edge JCT Phase 4 when providing anchorage facilities for ships currently with 366 meters in length. Accordingly, the additional length of 120 meters that would be added by the construction of Phase 5 of the terminal will result in an efficient and effective operation of vessels at the JCT. With the completion of constructions, a new yard area of 40,000 square meters will also be added to the JCT. Speaking at the occasion, Minister of Ports and Shipping Rohita Abegunawardena said that JCT expansion project was initiated by the previous government, but it was his responsibility to act and implement as the minister in charge despite criticizing such work. Minister of Education Professor G.L. Piris today told the Parliament that the GC ordinary level examination will not be held on the scheduled date and will be postponed due to the health situation of the country. Minister Professor Piris also said that the applicants will be notified before 6 weeks of the new examination dates.
අමාරු තීරණයක් ගන්නට සිදු වෙලා තිබෙනවා. ඒ තීරණය ගන්න සිදු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ පොදු සහතික සාමාන්‍ය පෙළ විභාගය පිළිබඳවයි. ශිෂ්‍යයන් 6,21,000 ඉල්ලුම් කරලා තිබෙනවා මේ විභාගයේ. මේ රටේ සමස්තයක් හැටියට පාසල් තිබෙනවා 10,165. ඒ පාසල් වලින් දැනට විවෘත කරලා පන්ති පවත්වාගෙන යන්නේ පාසල් දල වශයෙන් 5100ක. එතකොට 11 වන ශ්‍රේණියේ පන්ති වලට යන්න පුළුවන් වන්නේ ශිෂ්‍යයන් භාගයකට පමණයි. හැබැයි මේ සියලු දෙනාම පෙනී සිටින්නේ පොදු විභාගයකට. දෙසැම්බර් මාසයේ පළවන සතිය තුල අනෙක් පාසල් විවෘත කිරීමට බැරි නම් එහෙනම් මේ විභාගය දැන් නියම කරලා තිබෙන දින වකවානුව තුල පැවැත්වීම අසාධාරණයි කියලා මම විශ්වාස කරනවා. සෑම දෙනාම එක විභාගයකට පෙනී සිටින්නේ ළමයින් භාගයකට පන්ති පැවැත්වනවා අනිත් භාගයට පන්ති පැවැත්වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් එවන් තත්ත්වයක් තුළ සුදුසු තීරණය වන්නේ ඒ විභාගය ටිකක් කල් දැමීම. අපි සති දෙකෙන් දෙකට සමාලෝචනය කරනවා රටේ පවතින සෞඛ්‍ය තත්ත්වය. පුළුවන් තරම් ඉක්මනට මේ විභාගය පවත්වනවා. අපි අලුත් දිනය තීරණය කිරීමේදී අවම වශයෙන් විභාග අපේක්ෂකයන්ට සති 6ක් කල් වෙනවා.
The Supreme Court has today rejected the petitions filed challenging the Gazette notification on the cremation of bodies of COVID-19 victims. The Dulapitiya and Paliaguda dual COVID-19 clusters exceeded 20,000 cases yesterday, with the recognition of 503 COVID-19 positive persons yesterday. In the meantime, the tally of COVID-19 recoveries reported in Sri Lanka went up as another 257 patients were discharged from medical care after returning to health. Thus, the recoveries count now stands at 17,817. Moreover, the Health Promotion Bureau states that 7,463 PCR tests were carried out in the country yesterday. In the meantime, during the Cabinet press conference held today, the journalists asked Media Minister Keheliya Rambukwella why the government suddenly appointed Dr. Sudarshini Fernando Pulle as the State Minister of Primary Health Services, Pandemics and COVID-19 Prevention yesterday.
I think she's a specialist on the subject, right? And then not only here, even in UK, there is a minister appointed recently, a state minister was appointed for COVID, who is an expert on the subject. So in terms of the appointment of Mrs. Fernando Pulle, she's a specialist in that particular community, yes, community disease field. So that's the reason why she's appointed and she's given that responsibility.
Stay tuned for stock updates right after this break. Welcome back after the break. The trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The all-share price index gained 73.7 points to close at 6,317.46 and the S&P SL20 gained 44.05 points to close at 2,497.92. Turnover was 2.5 billion rupees and over 111 million shares were traded. Up next are forex rates. And that's all news for today. See you tomorrow with State of Business at the usual time. Until then, take care and good night.